Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presence. As expected, and as we spoke, because I think most of you were on the pre-match press conference. Sometimes, as I said, sometimes these matches are not the ones that, in terms of the tactical side of the game, are not the most beautiful ones, let's say. But by the other side, sometimes these matches, they are very, very interesting in the tactical side of the question, the strategical side of the game, and I think that's what we saw today. Wonderful atmosphere, wonderful ambience, respect between the parts, but not a very beautiful match the way it was played. But very interesting in terms of the tactical approach that happened during the game. Obviously, I speak by myself. I had a hard work today, not only to prepare the match, because we had 68 hours between finishing the last match or the start of the previous one and the beginning of this one. So a big challenge to prepare the match, but also a big challenge to put in practice what we wanted. And under a context that is not normal, because the fatigue was clear on our players today, absolutely clear. The way we played was conditioned a lot by the capacity that we could not sustain in terms of intensity, of freshness, because fatigue is not only physical, it's neuronal. It comes here. So then the decision making sometimes was not the best. But hard times demand extreme measures, and I told the team that as a team we could win the match, and that's what we did. We coped with the different moments of the match, I think, in the right way. We defended when we had to defend. We showed our defensive organization when we had to show it. We gave our best in terms of duels when we could, with the energy that we had. And I knew also, that's what I passed to the boys, that we would have our moments. And in those moments, our capacity, individual capacity and collective capacity to interpret the moments could give us something. And that's what happened. So we scored from a very good tactical movement, very, very good tactical movement that we can speak about it later. But also then, as I said before, we had to cope with the moments and change the structure to be more balanced in defense, because we were not being able to press high. We changed the structure, and during the second half we changed again, 2 times even, so that we could cope with the moments of the game. So fantastic job from the boys that always gave an answer. They understood that we were trying to help them. They put the spirit in the pitch, and due to that we had a good victory in a very difficult match.
Thank you, coach.
Coach, times you had a 19-year-old left back and a 20-year-old centre back on the field today. Was that out of tactical change or force?
I didn't understand.
You have a 19-year-old centre back, a 19-year-old left back, and a 20-year-old centre back on the field. Was it a tactical decision, or was it forced upon you to have these 2 youngsters in your defence?
No, it was a decision that we did, considering the context that we face. What I mean, as I told before, Mali is playing regularly. Tiwani was a player that when we arrived was not playing, so he had to come back on his qualities. He's doing well now. And we understood that the freshness that we needed for the team to cope with the style of play that eventually we could face, it was important to have freshness in the back, so we decided to put three players fresh on the defense, so that we could cope with mostly of these long balls, because you saw how the game was played, a lot of long balls just dispatched behind our lines on the wingers, that obliges us to make a volume of high intensity runnings that is really incredible. The numbers that our central backs have in some games in terms of high intensity runnings is so big that sometimes it can even go over the runnings that the players in the front they do in high intensity. So, and this is not the normal in a football game. So we know that this induces fatigue in the players, that we need to give them proper rest, and that we needed freshness to deal with the strikers and the wingers that Chiefs would line up. So that was strategical, obviously, to do also.
Coach, when one looks at your games, there's a lot of tactical changes that you make during the game. Are you a proactive or reactive coach? Because are you seeing something that might happen, or you see opportunities, or you seeing that this is something that can happen against you? Can you maybe just explain the type of coach that you are? Because there's a lot of tactical changes in games, particularly looking at the reference, the game of Orlando Pirates, this one as well, against TS Galaxy. So what type of a coach are you?
I'm a coach that makes a great effort to try to be clever. Doesn't mean that I'm always, but I try. It's clear that there's always proactivity in the way you approach a match. So there's a way you want to play the match that has to do basically the way you want your team to play. But then there are small adjustments that you need to pass to the players that might happen due to the game, the style of game you're going to face, how the characteristics of the other team. I'll give you an example. We expected a certain kind of pressure over our build-up. So we position our fullbacks in a slight different way according to that what we expected. So that is proactivity in terms of how we're going to face the match. Then exactly that didn't happen. So there was a moment it was happening, but then it stopped to happen. And I had to give an answer. Why to have the fullbacks in one positioning? That is not necessary when it's not that the game is asking for. So in that moment, I'm reactive in terms of trying to give an answer that puts us more comfortable in the pitch. Today I had also to give answers to the level of fatigue that the team had. It was clear. There's one player that approached the bench at the 25th minute and he told me, Coach, today we are not feeling fresh to press the way we like to and the way you also want us to do. So I understood that putting numbers in the front, but then not having them not with the capacity to come back, or going there, but then not being strong enough to the duels or to at least reduce the possibility of playing forward from the opponent, that would be not clever. So I tried to be clever, and that's why I changed a little bit the structure. And we stayed more compact, and from there we could have more the ball, because sometimes you defend with a player, sometimes you have to defend with the system. That's how I think. And sometimes with the players in any system you can do it well. But then there are some systems that help you in certain moments. That's what we try to do. I always think that I have to help the players as much as possible. But not always I do it well. Because I also am a man, I also make mistakes. But most of the times the players, they work hard in order also not to expose my mistakes. And this is fantastic when you have a team like that. Because at halftime I told them, guys, today as a team, we're going to go until the end, but as a team. Let's understand the moments and let's be together. Let's be everybody that will enter, give the maximum, because that's how we're going to do the match. And that spirit is also wonderful to see, obviously, the commitment, because we need a strong commitment in order to overcome the difficulties that we had until the moment that we continue to have, because, as you know, on Wednesday we play again, and then on Saturday we play again. So, and then next week we play again on Wednesday, and then we play again on Saturday or Sunday. And our players after that, 13 of them will go for national teams and continue to play matches. So this is an effort that sometimes you have matches like this. It's not possible to have an orchestra to play violin during all time. Sometimes you have to hold the violins and play some drums. This is also... And we need to adjust. And having an orchestra that can feel the different moments the game has is the best way to make a good music. Because in the end we need to win, and that's what I have also to look for the results. Let's hope we continue to help the players. That's my job. When I pray together with my players before the match, I always thank God and tell him, please help me to be wise. Help me to help them. Make me make good decisions. I always tell them that.
Okay, any questions from the front? Nothing.
Thanks, Troops. Coach Miguel. In the first half, your team looked like a team that played too many games in a short period of time. And
didn't look. It was.
Yeah, and Chiefs stifled the midfield in the first half, and your players didn't force their way in. They didn't force matters. Was that a conscious decision that you made to maybe the Chiefs overstretch themselves while you conserve energy, and then hopefully you use your moments and you get a result and then you manage it?
Yeah, we expected that Chiefs would overload the middle in order to put numbers. But we knew that also would give opportunities on the sides. And we have capacity by the sides, and that's how we scored. As you remember, their full back because they had their midfielders all controlling the inside and the wingers controlling the inside, trying to close our build-up in the inside. So their fullback was jumping on our fullback. But we knew that on that moment, we had two men in the front. If we could attract one of the centre backs, eventually the other one could play the ball on the space. So Peter made that movement. Ikram went on the space and received the ball there. Then he passed to Lucas to make the goal. So as I said, it's the players to interpret the things, because it was a very hard game, very tactically, very well prepared by Coach Nabi. Pirates has also good players. And there's an emotionality always behind these kind of matches. It's clear that we don't want to highlight, because our players are already in the level of tension that the games require these kind of games. So my approach is always very low in terms of demanding, and just giving them the tools so that they can give an answer. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it don't. Today it went well, and of course I'm happy for that. But very tough game, very, very tough game.
Giovanni from News 24. Coach, what needs to happen to better manage the national team players from Sundowns, and also a Bafana perspective? When you look at the schedule that Sundowns is on, there's an AFCON, there's a Club World Cup. It's a scenario where, for instance, the likes of Ronan and Deboho could only get an off-season in 2028 if they go to the World Cup and the next AFCON.
Well, we have good communication with. I didn't understand if you asked what the national team should do.
No, I was asking the management of the players.
My work on managing the players.
And also, because I think there's that article that you read where they said the players don't have enough break because of Bafana, AFCON and everything. That's how you manage. Look,
regarding calendars, is not up to me. What I know is that the World Cup is an important tournament for ourselves, is an important tournament for the world, is an important tournament for Africa in general. So I totally support the fact that there's this kind of competitions. Obviously that it makes the schedule tougher, and that's a reflection that is not up to me. So the question in here on my job is always to manage contexts, and I have to give answers to those, because I don't control whatever happens in terms of fixtures, and I just try to manage as much as possible the situations. But I have a big commitment in terms of managing the players in the best way. Obviously that we know that as much as we believe in all of them, they are not all equal. They are not all equal. And obviously that we have players that go for national teams, and they have also to perform in the national teams, because they also want to be there. They also want to be there. So we need to have a good communication. We need to give them as much rest as possible. I said last time, and I keep repeating it, training less now is training more. Training less is training more. Today was not a good match to bring us something for the future, because when you play the matches in the way you want to play regularly, that's also a good training session. But today the match was not played as we want to play. It was very strategical, and it was and it means that from this match it will be difficult, for example, for me to look at it and say, okay, this moment, this, okay, let's show the players because this is the way we want to do the things. No. But also there are things that you can show the players in order to understand. In certain contexts, we have to do this, because the adaptation to context in football is very important. Hard work managing players, but most effort not only from me but all the structure of the club, because there's a big group of people that is working hard in terms of managing the players, trying to work on them in order to avoid injuries, trying to work on them to recover from match to match. And we are trying to deal with strategies in order to, as much as possible, have the players physically available, but mentally on disposal. Because the fatigue here for the overload of matches is also very dramatic if you don't give them the opportunity to, even the presence of family. Imagine one of my assistants, he had a family during this week here, and he almost didn't see his family. They will go back to Portugal tomorrow, and his son was almost crying, Papa, I'm here for 1 week and I didn't see you, because we were 2 days in Polokwane and then we came home, but then the other day in the morning, so we were here one day in 1 week. So for the players it's also important that we can provide them some mental freshness. Is very important.
Coach, you are talking about fatigue, mental fatigue and all these things. Does it make things better that you are 18 points clear and the team behind you now have to do most of the chasing, and might just have the stress of coming after you.
I totally understand your question. What I believe is that recovering from one match to the other when you win is completely different. This is clear, because there's always an emotional release that comes from the fact that you won, that you got what you wanted to do. So that helps. The other day, in the beginning of this series of matches, we were discussing strategies that would be important for the players to respect, and discussing with them and explaining them. And besides many of the things we discussed, I told them, and don't forget to win them as much as possible, so that helps to recover. Because obviously the ambience is different. The way you go for the training session you are more happy, so the joy brings you good hormone release. That also helps you to physically to recover, of course. Regarding the points difference, we don't look back, we just look forward, and looking forward is the next match on Wednesday in Golden Arrows. It will be a tough one again. That's a respect we should have for everybody, because really there's one story that comes, is there something that's clear for me now. PSL matches, you don't know where, they are tricky, because the way the teams play, they are tricky. So we must have a lot of respect by everybody. Obviously that we are a team to beat, so there's always extra energy also when we play against any team, and we have to be on the limit every moment. That's why I say that it's so important to not make mistakes on the players you line up, because sometimes you can put a team you wanted them to play, but they don't have the conditions to do it, and you can make a mistake on that. But then also the mental approach on the games is very important, because if we feel in any moment that we relax, it can be a big mistake for us. We just have to continue to play match after match after match until whatever. Now, next one. Very tough one, by the way.
We'll take the last two questions. There's your preview for Arrows already.
Coach, Katlefo from the Citizen, congratulations on the win. Coach, can you talk to us about Ribeiro? I mean, you've coached in Europe, you know what it takes for players to make it. If he improves his defensive side of the game, is he good enough to make it there and possibly even his own national team?
Well, you put it two standards on the table different, huh? Because one thing is play in Europe, another thing is go on national team of Brazil. Lucas is no doubt a quality player, no doubt. But he's a player that also needs freshness. I think that he's a player that is very explosive, and to be explosive you need freshness. And he's trying to cope with the effort that he's been doing in the best way. We are trying to let him be to recover as much as possible between matches, but it has been very tough for him, because explosive players are the ones that suffer more from fatigue, and he lives from these explosive actions. And I think he's doing less number of explosive actions due to the fact that he's tired. But the ones he does with quality. And today he had a couple of them, and thanks to a fantastic individual technical execution, he made a wonderful goal. Because sometimes these balls, they go it's a rugby shot and not a football shot. But he really put it in the right way. I hope he makes more years in the club, but I also hope one day he can express himself in a higher level, of course. But of course, because a coach always wants the best for the players. And I always tell them, I love to work with whoever you are, but in the end, if you can go for better, just go, please. Because it will make me better coach if I promote the players. No doubts. And in the past it happened like that, and I hope in the future it will happen with some of Sundowns players if they want to go, because maybe they want to stay.
First question from
Coach Patatu from Opala Radio. Coach, we saw that you gave Chris Mudau starting today. He played, but eventually we saw him that in the 65th minute you had to then pull him off. Because is it an injury, or did you bring him back too soon? What would you assess his situation as?
No, he didn't come too soon on the match. We knew that we had to substitute him. We knew. And eventually also I knew that there were 2 or 3 players that eventually I would have to substitute. Lucas Suarez, I was thinking that I would have to take him out. Tijuana, I was thinking that I would have to take him out. And also eventually Jaden, I would be thinking that I would have to take him out. Because we know what we have, We have assessment on their physicality, let's say, on their data, the data that they produce. And also we have reports, assessments on their condition. No, Modal made a wonderful recovery. From what we saw, it's nothing special on him. 2 or 3 minutes before he was on the line beside myself, I asked him, how are you in a moment? Good. Okay, let's go for a couple of minutes more. But the players, they also understand when, no, it's time to go out. And he protected himself, and I really appreciate that he did so. Because then we could put Tapelo, but also Tapelo could not play, should not play too much, because as you saw last game, we also took out Tapelo. So now we need to give them rest to both of them, so that we then decide who will play the next match.
Thank you, coach. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very much, ladies.